Good evening and welcome to the Herald Special Rugby World Cup podcast. I always call it a podcast, it technically is, it's a video podcast, a video show. I've still not came to the right terminology for it yet, but obviously it's a big night for Scotland over in France and Lille in particular. And then David Barnes is there for the second last Rugby World Cup group stage game against Romania. How
Are you?
how you doing? How are you feeling ahead of this game? I mean, what's your kind of overall thoughts?
I'm pretty confident, to be honest with you. You know, Romania have had two pretty heavy defeats to South Africa and Ireland, who, fair enough, the top two teams in the world. I think they're probably, they'll have learned a lot from that experience, but I think they're a bit worn down by it. Scotland should be good enough to get the bonus point that they need. It should be fairly straightforward. As a Scotsman, it makes me slightly nervous saying that, because, whatever sport it is, but we don't always make it easy for ourselves. But realistically, Scotland are good enough to, get this win without too much anxiety, and then it's all on, we march on to Paris next week and the big one against Ireland.
Yeah, essentially tonight is about ensuring that Scotland come through with that bonus point to set up that showdown. Also put on a good performance and put maybe as important as any of those things is come away unscathed in terms of injuries. And I mean, that's why Gregor Townsend's rang 13 changes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it shows the strength and depth he's got in the squad now, that you look at that and you're not overly concerned. It wasn't that long ago that, this would be seen as a major gamble regardless of who you're playing. So, I'm not overly concerned about it. Romania have made 10 changes themselves. I think the reason they're doing it is because their guys are knackered and maybe a bit demoralised. But, we've got, Scotland got more depth than Romania. So, quid pro quo, Scotland, will come through. There's guys coming into the team. There's 3 guys that have come into the team, who were British Lions 3 years ago and are desperate for game time. So if you look at it that way, it's an ideal situation for Gregor Townsend. He gets to keep these guys ticking over. They're all going to have a point to prove, and he gets to keep his, the men that he thinks are going to do the job next week against Ireland fresh. So, it's a good situation to be in, really.
Do you think there was any temptation for Gregor to perhaps name a couple more of his starters in the team, or it probably just shows the confidence that he has within the group?
Yeah, I presuming there's always a temptation, because the danger is you don't want to be the guy that kind of is overconfident and blows it. So it's a gamble in that sense. I think he'll have looked at Antoine Dupont, the French captain and probably the best player in the world at the moment. Played in a game that he didn't really need to play in against Namibia. Ended up cracking his cheekbone, is now a doubt. He's probably going to come back with a mask on his face. He'll have looked at that and thought, do I need that hassle in my life? Do I need Finn Russell? And so if he was wavering, I suspect that was the thing that really, made up his mind for him.
Yeah, I mean, people who are watching might not know that kind of the fringe players as such who are coming into the team. I mean, who should they look out for, David? Who are you looking forward to seeing tonight?
Well, I think, Hamish Watson, for the best part of a decade, he's been one of the first names on the team sheet, open side flanker, played for the Lions. He was, Six Nations man of the tournament or player of the tournament not so long ago. He's not in any game time yet at all. He's played the party line that he's keen, he's part of the squad. But a guy like that's a competitive man. He's going to want to make his case. He's going to think that he's got a chance against to get in against Ireland next week. So, I think he'll definitely front up front. Ben Healy, who is grew up in Ireland, Scottish mother. He's played. He came in. He kind of decided he was going to throw his lot in with Scotland during the Six Nations. He got. He played against Italy at the end of the Six Nations. He got his one and only start before today against Italy, won the warm-up games and was man of the match. He's in a difficult position because he's trying to get Finn Russell's jersey, but he's a talented guy. He's got a huge boot on him, so it's standoff. The game will run through him. So we'll be interested to see how he goes. And we see Ollie Smith at fullback. Ollie Smith, I think coming up, during the summer, we thought it was maybe quite close between Ollie Smith and Blair Kinghorn as the two fullbacks who get it. Blair Kinghorn's clearly the man in possession. Ollie's slightly younger. He's got a big future ahead of him, but he'll view this as an opportunity. To show that he could be a contender against Ireland. Blair Kinghorn's had a pretty good World Cup, but he's been a wee bit sketchy under the high ball. So I think Ollie Smith, a big performance there, could force his way in. So there's a lot of guys with a lot of things to prove, and that's maybe a better situation to be in. The guys have got everything to prove and nothing to lose, as opposed to guys who are looking over their shoulder, no matter what they say, looking over their shoulder and thinking, I need to get through this game and get to Ireland. Mentally, this is a cup final. This is the World Cup for some of these guys. They know if they don't do it tonight, then they're not playing again.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle Steyn and Chris Harris, only two players that remain from the win against Tonga. I suppose you've Steyn done well, I think, in that win against Tonga. But then Darcy Graham comes off the bench and shows exactly what he can do with the try of the game. But I mean, it shows that Scotland have that depth, especially in the back line and some dangerous players. And no disrespect to Romania, but I imagine that some players will be looking at tonight to try and get some tries under their belt.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's quite interesting because Kyle Steyn, Kyle's got less caps, but he's I should have checked the stats, but Kyle's, I think he's up to 8 or 9 international tries, but from only about 14 games. But at the moment, Duhan van der Merwe and Darcy Graham are on 21 and 22 and 21. Is it? I should have checked that, but the record's 27. Stuart Hogg's got. So all these guys are kind of closing in, and they talk quite openly about it. That they want to take that record. They want to become the top try scorer for Scotland. They will do it at some point because they're young men. They've got 4 or 5 years left at this level, but they'll be looking at this and thinking, a hat trick here, and I'm really close to that record. So I think we will see tries. The big thing that Gregor Townsend and the coaches have spoken about this week is not pushing it too soon. They've got to play rugby. If they play rugby, the opportunities will come and they'll score tries. If they try and score a first phase ball, and they'll make life hard for themselves. They're not going to lose it. On that basis, it'll just be slightly harder, slightly messier than they need it to be. So they'll want to kind of basically soften Romania up, play some structured rugby, and know that if they do that, that creates a bit of space, and they've got the firepower out wide to score tries.
Yeah, 82 points Romania, I can see, against Ireland. They obviously scored 8 in that game, which I think a few people predicted. South Africa was 76 and no score for Romania. So, I mean, Scotland, we want to get in the ballpark of that figure. Yeah. Again, no disrespect to Romania, but we've got to be realistic, and that has to be the kind of target, doesn't it?
I think it absolutely does. Yeah, and these guys are going into their third really, really tough game. They played the first best team, number 1 team, the number 2 at the time team in the world. Now they're playing the fifth. These guys are knackered. I'm sure that they're going to be. I think Scotland, should be taking the view if they don't get a better score than Ireland and South Africa against these guys, then they've not really, they've not achieved what they should be aiming for. I think it's time to get really ruthless. We don't, a win by 50-60 is fine. It's not the end of the world, but these guys should be looking for more than that.
Yeah, it's always fun doing these kind of games against Romania. When you're doing I'm doing a live blog in the Herald, so everyone can, if you're not able to watch the game, you can check in with the latest updates there. But you go and change the score and the headlines every 2 seconds. So
well, let's hope that your fingers are going fast. Let's hope your fingers are on form today and you're kind of able to take fast enough, because hopefully there will be quite a lot of scoring to report on.
Yeah, fingers crossed for both of us. I mean, how's the atmosphere around Lille? You've got around a few the French cities now. I mean, how's Nice and Marseille, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah.
Scotland games.
Yes, we've been here for a month now. So most of the time in Nice, we were up to Marseille for the South African game, there for 4 or 5 days. Both were great. Nice is it's very hot, but it's been a great part of the city. We came up to Lille on Thursday morning, early flight, and it's like a different, completely different environment. It's more Northern European. It feels, I don't know what, it feels Belgian. It's people dress differently. The accent's slightly different. It was kind of quiet around the town, really. It was a busy town anyway. It's a student town, but there wasn't many Scotland jerseys up until this morning, and I was kind of, I kind of wondered whether this game, because you're kind of separated from it when you're over here, whether it kind of gone under the radar. But this morning, the town's packed with Scotland jerseys, kilts, and stuff. So there's obviously a lot of people who made the trip across. So I'm thinking it's going to be a huge, great atmosphere, 50,000 seater stadium. Looks to me, having spent a bit of time in town before coming out to the stadium here, there's a huge Scotland contingent over. So hopefully, there's something, it's a carnival atmosphere and there's some, real entertainment on the pitch to celebrate.
Yeah, no, I hope so too. I mean, just lastly, it won't keep me long. Obviously, for everyone watching, David is obviously live at the game. I'm unfortunately not in France. I'm still in Glasgow. The weather's not so good out here. But David will have the match report up on the Herald website at full time. I'll have the player ratings. We'll have lots of coverage. It's going to be a busy Saturday night for both of us. I mean, this weekend is definitely not as exciting as last weekend at Rugby World Cup when we had those massive games between Ireland and South Africa this time last Saturday. And then on Sunday, of course, we had Wales against Australia. But I mean, New Zealand put on a bit of a clinic last night and maybe went towards silencing a few doubters.
Yeah, I think that was a real statement from New Zealand last night. I didn't actually. I'm going to come clean. Me and a couple of the rugby journalists got a train to Belgium and watched the Belgian football match last night, which was brilliant, I have to say.
Who was it? Who was it, David? Who was it?
I keep on getting. They were playing. I keep on forgetting the name. It was a running joke that I could. The other guys are a bit more football fan than I am. Hold on a second. I'm going to read it out to you. It was one of the. It's not the Big Bruges side. It's the other one.
Cecil Bruges.
Yeah, that's who they were, the visitors, and they lost 2-1 to KV Kortrijk.
Yeah,
so that Kortrijk basically, it's a 20-minute train drive from Lille where we are. We went across. It was brilliant. It was old school. It was terracing. We're in the terracing at the front. They've got they've got like a band leader who gets the band playing.
Yeah.
And Kortrijk hadn't won a game all season. That was the first one of the season. So we kind of think we're lucky mascots now. So that's my new club, my new European club. So that was a great change of scene. But by the sounds of it, New Zealand really put on a show last night. I think there has been a lot of chat about Ireland, South Africa, France, and I think New Zealand said, you don't write the All Blacks off. Don't forget about us. So, it's pretty exciting. It's hotting up. But as you say, the games this weekend, it's not quite the same buzz. There's not really as many kind of do or die contests. But it's bubbling along nicely, and a nice one for Scotland and a few tries. Certainly from a Scottish perspective, we'll keep the interest going.
Yeah, let's hope Ireland and South Africa aren't one of the favourites in knockout stages, because one of them has already been knocked out, and Scotland progress. But we'll leave it there for the live video. I'll be back on Monday with Arthur to kind of run over the game and obviously preview what fingers crossed. I mean, I can say with some authority that it will be a showdown with Ireland. You fancy Scotland to get the result we need tonight. From me and from David, thanks to everyone for tuning in. Obviously, stay tuned to the Herald for all the coverage and reaction from tonight's win. Take care.
Okay, thanks. Cheers, Euan. Thank you.